You have tax money coming in, and it's complicated as it seems. It's also simplistic too, because the federal government takes in tax money, right? They take in a
Yep.
certain amount, and every year they spend a couple trillion more than what they have, right? So any town or city takes in a certain amount of tax revenue, and it's just like your own house, your own income. You have to balance it at some point. So the federal government runs at a deficit. They do what they do. They sell treasury notes and sell debt or whatever, and they
Just
run a
print the money, man.
cool,
Print
and
the
they
money.
print money. But
Print the money.
in a town, in a city, it's the same issue. So I think the question to me is that yes, I agree with you as far as everything you said, and yeah, you can't blame Brandon Johnson for everything. He didn't create Chicago. Chicago been had these issues for a long time. For people
Yeah.
who don't know, however, the goal to your point about businesses, I think there's also the conversation as to whether the rich are paying their fair share. And that's a whole nother conversation. But I think all of that is part of the larger conversation. Are the rich paying their fair share, or paying enough? There's definitely room for that conversation. But are cities running efficiently? I don't think a lot of cities are running efficiently. And the shift in America right now is crazy because there was a time where you didn't have business districts in like the Austin, right? Austin is big, so Texas, for example, places like Tennessee, Kentucky, there's places that, corporations, because of technology, they don't have to be in Chicago. So the idea of doing a corporate tax, there are no corporations fighting to have their headquarters in Chicago. They don't have to be there. They don't have to be. A lot of New York is still New York, but even New York struggles with that issue. So you have to be able to allow or make, a business friendly city. So there was a time where, like Detroit, Motown went through that. Detroit was the place, and it got to a place, it became desolate after, especially after the 2008 collapse. But people don't have to be in these certain
Before that.
cities. So
Yeah.
what's happening now is you have a migration of businesses into these, I would call, kind of obscure places. um,
Metaverse, man.
huh?
Metaverse.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything's digital.
Yeah.
I work. There's a company. I was sitting at a meeting with an executive at a cybersecurity summit, and this dude told me, he was like, "Oh, we got 80 employees. We all work from home.
Yeah.
80 employees. They have no phones. They only communicate through email
Yeah.
intentionally."
They own
And
Microsoft
so,
Teams, and
yeah, you can, you
like,
can, yeah,
so
you can. Go ahead.
no, I'm just saying to your point, like they don't even have to be, and we haven't even dug into AI yet. We haven't even talked about AI, but
Yeah.
just as far as the way corporations work. So I think that some of these politicians, and I'm talking about Brandon Johnson, mayors, for instance, especially in big cities, you cannot manage these cities like this is, oh, we're Chicago. They don't have to be there. They do not have to be there. I mean, you'll find where you start losing businesses. And the problem is you can't just tax these businesses. Yes, you're taxing because you need the money. Of course, it's a way to generate revenue, but it's also a way to make the business leave. So, just to your point, you said a minute ago, yes, you'll pay for it either in Jewel. If they pay $7 million to just exist in Chicago, then everything's going to cost more. When you go
I
to,
mean, yeah, no corporation, no smart corporation is going to even stay.
they're not going to
I, I,
stay.
I wouldn't
Yeah,
stay. I would pack up and leave.
they're
Right.
going to
So
leave. So, to your point,
I think,
you're going to pay in jobs. So
yeah.
that's bad leadership. And I think on top of that, New York has an issue, and I'll bet Chicago has the same issue. Even when
Uh
it
huh.
comes to the housing issues, as far as building, property, building homes, the process of bureaucracy through, zoning. I mean, for example, I have a good friend of mine, a real estate agent who deals with bank owned properties in Philadelphia. She was telling me how, for instance, if you were buying a bank owned property, trying to get a deal, buy a bank owned property, rehab it. So let's say that you bought the property and you're trying to close. You can close. Some of these properties don't close for a year because they have not changed the deed. They have not changed the deed from the person who got foreclosed on to the bank. There's
Hmm.
just administrative things that move in a way that are so lethargic and slow
Absolutely.
that people don't even realize. And there are things that deter business. So what's happening in certain places, Texas, for example, Florida, they make it business friendly and they make it where, okay, we're not going to just tie you up and pretend like you have to be here. We want you to come here. So what's happening in America is that. So I think that's a part of why you see Chicago, New York, um, Detroit has turned around a lot. But I think that California, my God, for example,
I mean, bro, like, I mean, these are major, major, major big cities, right? Brandon Johnson, and I'm just being straight up. I've listened to this guy enough. I've been around him enough to know he's a very intelligent man.
it's true.
He's not a dummy by any means at all. I think he has a listening problem. And when you don't listen to the people, what made him potentially a one-term mayor was this: there was an opportunity, and he lost his op. This was his Kamala nail in the coffin. Kamala nail in the coffin for me. The people of Chicago wanted him to hear our voice, and all he had to do was put a referendum on the ballot that talked about how do you think Chicago should respond to the migrant crisis. When he did not allow that to go on an election ballot, he set Chicago off, and he lost a whole lot of people supporting him.
Hmm.
I will also say this. I was at a session where he was in being asked questions. He was asked a real particular specific question. Mayor Johnson, and I'm sitting in there, my wife is with me, my daughter's with me. He was at my church. This is when Trump saw it on the news and he, had a got Trump, he see it on the news when he talk about hired all these black people and Trump is like, well, he can't do that, but whatever. Later, dude, you do it, we can do it, whatever. But the question that was asked was, Mayor Johnson, why does it seem like when a police officer is shot in Chicago, that an arrest is made instantly and all the entire force is Johnny on the spot, 100% behind it. But when a citizen is killed, it drags on for months, weeks, years. Now that's a plain question, bro. That's not a difficult question.
Yeah. Softball.
All around the mulberry bush.
He talked around the block, huh?
To a point, my daughter was like, "Is he gonna answer the question?" So you can't stop these young people, bro. They go. So people around her started laughing, but at that point, after about 7 minutes of ranting about nothing, people started getting up and leaving, and that's when Pastor just ended it because he like, I gave you an opportunity to, I gave you an opportunity to answer the questions my people gave me. He danced around that question, but what I did hear about 4 weeks later was that question came up and he had an answer for it.
What was his answer?
He talked about what they're doing, having more detectives on the force, more promotions that could lead to more detectives being promoted to be able to put them on that type of investigative work. He had a good answer for it.
Okay.
So at least he adjusted. That's why I said he's intelligent. Like, he may not listen to people. I think he takes in those things that may be political fire and deals with them. But I think in terms, his biggest mistake, bro, I'm gonna tell you this, and talk to people in Chicago. Talk to Chicago Red. Ask them how upset were the people of Chicago when he did not allow that referendum to go onto the ballot about how Chicago should deal with migrants. Because the only thing Black Chicago wanted was to be heard. I get your defense. I understand your defense talking about the Ukrainians who came here, well, all the money that came to support them, and nobody said a word. Well, you didn't put Ukrainians on 75th and South Shore Drive.
Right.
Because had you done that, well, and we know why you didn't put Ukrainians on 75th and South Shore Drive. Just like you got that Ukrainian woman who got killed on that train in New York.
Right.
It would have if it happened over here, it would have been the same thing.
Yeah.
I do think you are absolutely right. There can be no raising of taxes in this city. Now, I don't blame Mayor Johnson for crime. I don't blame any politician for crime,
Right.
especially when it comes to that of our young people. I
Right.
lost a young man down at the Bean a few years ago, Shondell Holiday. Shout out to his mom.
Yeah.
Um,
R.I.P.
that's a parenting issue.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
however, I am 10 toes down. The biggest failure of this administration is not protecting the Chicago Transit Authority. There have been too many robberies on the trains.
Yeah.
There have been too many murders on the trains. There have been sexual assaults on the trains. There have been people pushed in front of trains. There have
Yeah.
been people jumped on and stabbed. That, my brother, is 100% unacceptable. So if you're going to raise taxes in my city, then you need to come with a list of everything that you're doing. And the citizens need to see that list and they can say, yo, bro, you missing 15 points on here. And 5 of them are safety issues on Chicago public transportation. That is absolutely unacceptable. For a woman to get set on fire?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had guests in town from other universities I was entertaining in a leadership program while I was here. It was utterly embarrassing. So
Yeah.
yeah, you need to do something. Don't raise taxes if services are not going to come with it. Right? They're looking at, I heard, raising the garbage tax, the pickup tax. Increasing that fee. Like, fees are going to happen. Dude, with the amount of red light cameras we have in this city for the 99 year deal that I think it was either Daly or Rahm Emanuel did, that
That
90,
was Rahm
who signs a
Emanuel.
99-year camera deal, bro?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. Even 50 years, okay, but 100? We're not going to even be around 100 years to see that whole thing come to pass. But that's, so I think that's the biggest thing. Safety is an issue on public transportation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's a major stain on his mayoral term. But I still stand on it. I think Brandon Johnson is he's a sharp politician because he knows the game. If you listen to this guy in interview, he's very strategic, man. What I don't like is that you have reporters now who will talk to him and they would never talk to Rahm Emanuel or Daley or Lori Lightfoot that way. See, there's something about a black man in power, especially when he's on the liberal side of things. There's something about a black man in power who shows you intelligence. And not saying he's got the best judgment, because I told you, I believe he has a listening problem,
Well,
right? When it came
I
to
thought that was extremely prolific of you saying that, because that was the most accurate way where you're giving him his props. Because I don't think he's a dummy, but I think it's prolific that you said that he has a listening problem. That is a
yeah.
very big issue.
Yeah.